And I will call them up and have me a shot.
Yeah, stand up.
I don't know if
They sound like passion.
I had a customer who spent a month. And I've been back to bring mine.
Big screen, big large screen.
You'll die 95% of those things, you die.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You're too close anyway.
Actually, that must have been. Neighbor backyard. Sooner or later.
All right. Thank you all for coming out to the March 12th Skipjack Township Board of Supervisors meeting. We're recording. We're good to go. Can we start the meeting with pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All I'm here, Nicholas Fountain. Here. Aaron Ellis.
Here.
Aaron Lynch.
Here.
Barbara McGinnis.
Here.
Alice Muir.
Here.
Trace Nonamaker.
Yes.
Bill Cools. Here. Matt's being replaced by the better part of the team, Jamie.
I didn't hear the rest of it.
Are you here? Jamie?
She's here.
Jamie's here. I think you were the better half of the team.
Oh, I'll pass that along to.
Bring it to him gently. Tim Woodrow.
Did you say the best for last?
Yeah, alphabetically, you know how to do that. All right, prior to this meeting, we had executive session where we discuss personnel and potential land acquisition. And with that said, we go into the public safety reports. Let's get back to EMS. Barry, you're up.
Good evening. For the month of February, we had 198 calls for service. We had 113 transports out of that, 5 blood draws, 13 prison calls, 28 recalls, 18 refusals, 5 lift assists, 6 no services were needed, and we medical assisted other organizations 4 times.
And each of the limited prison, any of those was the youth facility?
None at the youth facility at this point.
Perfect, thank you.
Hey, blood draws. Township breakdown, we had 55 in Skipjack, 55 calls for service in Skipjack. We had 56 calls for service in Worcester. We had 16 calls for service for Trap, 16 calls for service for Perkiomen, and 25 calls for service in Lower South.
Barry, how many were trapped?
Trap was 16,
16.
and Perkiomen was 16.
Hey Barry, would you mind sending that report to the supervisors and Alice so we have a visual representation of that?
No problem.
So we kind of wrap our brain around that and see, make sure everyone's doing fair
Yep.
share. Thanks, bud.
Yep. And did you want me to?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. In May, we're getting a new ambulance to come in, and for that, I was asking to use the balance, the money that was set aside for EMS and fire this year. I think it was around $140,000 or something like that area, to use that towards the new ambulance.
Tracy, what was the budget amount we had set aside for the contribution this year for EMS?
It was 145 bits.
Was it $145,000 there? Okay.
It was.
Barry, talk to us about the truck a little bit. Tell us what it costs, what year it is. What
So
what's
it's
the
a
pricing.
brand new truck. We ordered it in 2023. It's, the total cost of the truck with equipment is somewhere around $400,000. We've already purchased a lot of the equipment that goes inside of it, so the balance that we're gonna owe on it at this point is about $250,000. It's, the place that we buy from is a CoStar's approved place, so we always get that. But part of the issue with buying ambulances and fire trucks nowadays is you have to order them many years in advance.
Yep.
So we're always ordering blindly, saying, well, we think we're gonna need one in 2 to 3 years, because that's the lead time on these. So that's pretty much it, like I said.
What year, what model year, not that it matters, I'm kind of curious, what model year do you want it being after a 2003 to 2005 wait?
So it will be a current model, it will be a 2026.
It's gonna be a
26.
it'll be 25. Yeah, because we're still in the 25 phase, because it's gonna be only, the chassis is the only thing that's gonna be 2025. The box is as old as when we first got it.
Yeah, so I think the way they title it, they'll title it as a 2026 for the box, because that's manufactured in 2026. But the chassis, the motor, and the chassis itself will be a 2025.
Their manufacturer's warranties, like you buy a car, so for 3 years, things, what was it, drivetrain?
So power and drivetrain, standard Ford warranty, it's a Ford chassis that comes with a 3-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. The box itself has a 10-year warranty.
Okay. Is it an addition to the fleet, a replacement of the fleet?
So it's, so we've sort of ran short. We have 4 ambulances right now. We bought a temporary one about 6 months ago to hold us over, because we do have 3 on the road right now, and one of them has to go into service. We need one to be our backup. This one will go into the fleet on a normal rotation. Within the next year or so, we're gonna have to take one of the other ones and do what we call re-chassis, which is what we prefer to do, because it's a cheaper method. And what they do is they take the box off the back of the truck, put it on a new chassis, and then refurbish whatever they need to. Generally speaking, we would save about $75,000 to $100,000 on the cost of the ambulance by doing that. So that will be the next thing that we do. At that point, we need to have, of course, an ambulance to use while that's out, having that done to it.
So there's no extra ambulance in here that you're gonna sell then, in the middle of this mix?
So hopefully when this is all said and done, there's gonna be one ambulance to get rid of.
Gotcha.
That's the hope.
And what's the timing on that, when all is said and done?
So the new ambulance is due in the end of May. The re-chassing, we're probably gonna do within a year or 2, depending on, again, where we are financially.
Questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Barry, the $250 that you owe on this ambulance, is the $145 going towards that $250?
145 will go towards the 250.
Okay, and then when you're going to sell the ambulance that you no longer need, what's the ballpark
Well,
you might get for that? And again, I don't expect you to be, but like, what are you thinking?
Well, that probably won't happen for 2 years.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a good idea with ballparks that you think.
But ballpark would probably be around 35,000.
Okay.
really? That's all they bring
That's
after
all.
they've been used and abused?
Unfortunately.
It's a 2004,
Oh,
so it's an
boy.
older truck.
Okay,
Good question, I was gonna
lay
say.
a whip on it.
Other questions? Do you want to just go right into the next request, and we can discuss them all together, because it's.
Yeah, so the next request would be to take a low-interest loan that we could use to pay off the balance of that truck, which was $100,000. I know, talking to Marion, she was thinking that we should borrow more money because of our other needs at this point. I don't know.
So did everybody get a chance to read the
Yeah.
letter that I sent? Yes. Excuse me. So I suggested that if we're going to take out a loan, then we should take out a loan for what we need, instead of coming back again and again to ask for more. So everything that I detailed in that email that I sent were things that were very clear to me are much needed items. And, you know the state of affairs of EMS, and as the liaison to EMS, I take that job very seriously, and I'm always looking for ways that we can improve the situation, and also too to make sure that Barry and the board on EMS are running a good business. And we're never ever going to be able to catch up to what we need. So if you're going to ask the township for a loan, then my suggestion was, let's ask the township for a loan. One that we can get what we need, things that are imminent, things that are required by DEA and the chief of medical staff. I would just strongly recommend and suggest that if we can support the amount that we're looking for, that it would really be a tremendous thing for the Metro facility and for needs that have been put off for far too long.
So let's talk, before we talk about the culmination of whatever loan, let's talk about the loan itself. What are you proposing as far as the low interest loan? So you're proposing to pay things back quarterly, monthly, what kind of rate are you looking at? What would the terms of the loan look like?
I would set it up as a monthly, and again, just use the standard, we can set up a standard loan with the interest being paid obviously higher in the beginning and lower towards the end. Of course, our hope would be is if we can pay it off sooner, we can pay it off sooner without any kind of penalty.
How many year loan would you be looking at?
5 year.
So you're looking at a monthly payment, 5 year, and
Well, less than or equal to 2%.
2%. That's what you're asking.
And where the 2% came from was we can get a loan, not easily through the State Fire Commission. That's a 2% loan. The way that works is there's obviously a process you have to go through to apply for that usually involves about 45 pages worth of work. But when it's all said and done, there's no guarantee you're going to get the loan, and they only give you the loan after you purchase the item. So literally, you have to have the money in order to take the loan.
Yes.
It never made any sense to me.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know that you're getting a lot of pushback from township on helping you buy an ambulance, because when I call 911, I want you to show up in that.
Right.
So what's the other stuff look like? The only thing I'm a little concerned about is like, yes, we saw it, that's awesome, but do we have a chance to have that socialized with the public to see that in there, that hey, this is for things like windows or HVAC and not necessarily emergency equipment? What's the other stuff you're looking to put in there? Let's discuss that verbally. Do you have a list of that?
So the things that are of most need is we have narcotics vaults in each one of the trucks, and then we also have to have one in the building. These are required by the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Mm-hmm.
What we currently use right now is outdated, and we can't purchase the same type to put into the new truck. So right away we were faced with the dilemma of what are we going to do? There's a new system that we want to get that would then be installed in all the trucks, plus there's a main vault that has to be installed in what we call our ALS room. That combined is somewhere around $17,000 for that whole system.
And what's driving this? The fact that you have a new truck, you need a vault on that truck?
The fact that we need a vault in the truck, yeah.
So what's driving the request that you need to upgrade all your vaults? Is it because you
So-
need a vault?
So the vaults that we currently have are outdated, they don't support them anymore. And if we want to get another one, it would be a totally different vault from the rest of them, which just confuses people. I mean, the worst thing we can do to our employees is not have consistent equipment in each truck so that when they go to do something in an emergency situation, they know what they're doing. To have a bunch of different vaults would be a little bit confusing.
What's the cost of the vaults?
What's that?
What's the cost of the vaults?
About $17,000. Now that includes 5 different vaults for the trucks, plus one vault that goes inside what we call the ALS room. We keep the bulk of the narcotics in the ALS room, and then as we need them, they get stocked into each one of the trucks. Our medical command doctor is requesting that we replace what we currently have with this type of system because this system tracks the drugs better. Right now, the way we track drugs is we rely on each medic as he comes in to look at all the drugs and see that they're all there. This system will actually have a tag system that will automatically be read. And when we pull into the bays, we'll actually feed that information back into the vault, so there's always a record of where all those drugs are.
Anyone have a question about the vaults?
No.
What else are we gonna prioritize?
Along with that is our current lock system that we have in the building. And of course, one of those locks is the door lock that goes to that ALS room. Our current system right now is approximately 20 years old. The board that drives this whole system is no longer manufactured. So if that board goes down, our only alternative would be to go out and have keys made and pass keys around to everybody, which would be a disaster. So we've been looking for about 2 years now to get a new system in there. And I think the quote that we got was $20,000 for that.
Anyone have a question on the locking system? Were there other things you were hoping to prioritize?
So the other things that we were then talking about, and again, those were our two main priorities because we really can't function after May without those being, taken care of. The other things would be the windows in our place are 40 years old.
My house too, buddy.
Yeah, they're extremely drafty, and we always have issues with them not closing properly. We have the upstairs is too hot, the downstairs is too cold, all those issues. Part of that is also our heating system. And as far as I'm concerned, the way the building was originally built, it should have been zoned for an upstairs and downstairs system as opposed to one system that drives both. So in the wintertime, upstairs is way too hot, downstairs is way too cold. Summertime, opposite, obviously. We actually have a cookie sheet that we slide into one of the vents to block the air, depending on what time of the year it is, but it's not very efficient. It doesn't make sense, as far as I'm concerned, to replace the heating system without replacing the windows first. So that would be a two-step: replace the windows, then replace the heating system. And
Is it the original HVAC?
no, this is the second HVAC, but it's about 15 years old.
Mine too, bud.
Are you looking
I hear you, man.
Are you looking to get every duct and everything?
So they're going to have to split the ducts. The ductwork is there, but the way it is right now, the main system feeds into one duct that then goes upstairs, downstairs. They're going to have to do the ductwork.
What's your window quote?
That was 22,000.
Between 25 and 55.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's not a quote. I can't give you a loan of 25 to 55.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but we,
But we decided on the 25.
Oh, there's multiple, I
Yeah.
guess. you got it.
yeah,
yeah.
there's multiple.
Yeah, well,
Thank
if
you.
we go to Anderson, that was the most expensive. That was the 55. But
So
it'd be nice to have
we're
it
not
this
gonna do
expensive.
that.
So the windows
No
do-
Pella, no Anderson,
Yep,
just
25.
high efficient double pane.
And what was-
I hope you have double pane in your house.
I do have the open in my house.
Well, that's
yes.
good,
But
see?
that's probably leaked out for her. That's okay. So the windows, the quote you're looking at is for 25K, and the HVAC quote?
The HVAC we're still working on. I don't know if you deal with plumbers, but it's hard to get them to give you any kind of answer. Our guesstimate based on what we've seen in the past is around $50,000.
Is that for 2 units, or are you gonna
That would
split them
be
now?
for 2 separate units.
Yeah.
And the ductwork that has to be done.
Yep, that's about right.
Question about windows or HVAC? What else you got, Barry?
I believe that was it.
All right, I did some rough math here.
But
So the 250 you owe in the truck, we have 145 in our budget
correct.
for. That is 105,000 on loan. And if we look at the things that are focused on absolutely executing your job, like locking systems and vaults and those kinds of things, then 17K plus 20K is $142,000 for that before we get to windows and HVAC.
Right.
I guess
I have a question.
yeah.
In terms of the finances and the implications of something like this, we have a finance director, is it better to do it all at once in one loan, or is there reason from a financial standpoint to look at things separately
Individual.
in terms of two different loans? And at an interest rate of 2%, in terms of forecasting it currently. I think that some analysis needs to maybe take place on that front, and I don't know
Yeah, I'm with you.
if he's thought about that at
I was
this
actually
juncture.
thinking that as you're talking about, do we really want these, the vehicle loan and
The
the
building
CapEx
maintenance will fall,
items to be two separate, so you have a, you have a payment term of one,
Mhm.
and then maybe the other one is quicker. The capital expenditures for the building,
Right.
and we talk about them separately. Because I think there's implications too.
Well, plus we don't have a quote for the HVAC, so it's a little difficult just to lend money on a loan, and you don't know when you'll start spending.
Exactly.
Maybe they'll start doing this fall, and you're sitting on 2% when we can make more than that.
Right.
Yeah. All right,
Well,
so,
that's a good point, because I knew that we didn't have a final quote,
yeah, that's all right.
but I was in the ballpark.
No, that's all right.
And again, we would want the loan structured in such a way that we could pay it off early if we choose to.
No, I wouldn't penalize you, man, no, we're like. So if we were to break this down into mission critical function of the job, clearly the truck is in there. You would put the vaults and the locking system in that category because of safety and,
They absolutely have to be done by the time we get the new truck.
Right.
all right, so that's $142,000 for those components. We're not talking windows, we're not talking HVAC.
Yeah, I'm not good with the windows and the HVAC.
At least not
Not
at this,
yet.
yeah. We can fund that one.
I'm okay with the ambulance, I'm okay with the locking system, I'm okay with lock the drugs up.
How confident are you with these quotes? These numbers we're talking here, for $142,000 loan, is that gonna cover your $17,000 quote, $20,000 quote, and the cost of the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a copy of the quote? Can we get a copy of the quote?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah, I got it.
the quote for the locking system, and did you receive the quote for the door locks today?
Remind me when the trucks come in, the ambulance come in?
End of May, I can't be more specific than that.
That's all right, that's good.
And that's why the urgency around the
Yeah.
vaults.
For a long time, I couldn't be specific about it.
Yep. All right, with that said,
Was there any budgeted funds for this?
So again, we did budget the funds. Of course, part of what we budgeted was the $145,000 that was coming in. We were planning on taking a $100,000 loan anyway. It's just that we said we'll approach the township first in order to do that. As far as the other ones, we had been working on a grant. There was, because these involve opioids of sorts, there was an opioid settlement fund that was set up, and we thought we were going to be able to get a grant from that. But unfortunately, all that money, it's designated by county. All the money in Montgomery County has already been funded for other things, so we could not get that.
well, at this point, you just got some money from Matt, how much was that? Matt Bradford got some grant money.
That was yeah, I know they say they're getting it. That was from the fire marshal. The state fire marshal every year has a grant that comes out. That's
How
$15,000.
much you got, 15,000 of that?
15,000, yeah, we get that every year, but it has to be used to pay down debt, and that was the other issue for us taking the loan. We currently don't have any debt.
You're about to.
Our debt's very
I
low.
predict.
Our debt's lower than the 15,000 we can get from the state, so we need debt at this point in order to continue to get the loan from the state.
We'll get right back.
Do you, hopefully Worcester is gonna be sending you a check. Do you have, a budget, any idea how that money's gonna be spent? Or the money that Worcester is sending you?
Well, I don't like to count my chickens.
Yeah, it's not
Eggs are
enough.
hatched.
We
Well, I
don't
mean-
even know if that's gonna happen.
But I mean, you should, I imagine you do a yearly budget. That's money that you're expecting
I
to
just did a
get.
yearly budget, and at this point, without putting any capital improvements in all, we came out with about a $60,000 profit, but that's without any capital improvements. Again, I don't know.
I mean, if we had gotten the money from Worcester that we asked for in arrears for 2024, and if we had gotten a promise from them that they would give us $225 per call moving forward, I wouldn't have suggested that we ask for the extra money above the 100,000 we were originally going to ask for.
Is that money in limbo? Do we?
So that's why I asked if it was an open
Well,
deadline.
it hasn't happened yet,
Well-
and last month, they had the excuse that one supervisor was missing, but a quorum of 3 is 2. So they could have had that meeting and made decisions without that supervisor. That's the first thing. Second thing is, they pushed us off for so many years and paid $0 since 1968. I mean, it's just, maybe I'm naive to think that we were finally gonna get that money. I'm right now so discouraged and frustrated with the whole thing that I don't know if it's gonna happen. And it worries me, which is why when we were talking money last night, all the things that have to be done, there was just no way that we could count on money from Worcester. So that's where we are with that. And that's how I feel about Worcester right now.
So I will say that that's why I was asking if the loan, if we can pay it off early. Obviously, if we get funding from Worcester, we're gonna be in a position to pay that loan off a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But we don't know that. Not at this
Tanya,
point.
did you have a question?
With Worcester, how much pressure are we putting on?
I don't wanna
know
get into
various-
a thing of, that's,
Yeah.
I don't wanna
Like,
share
I mean-
conversations,
Oh,
negotiations, or
oh,
stuff like that, it would be
understood.
inappropriate, right? So it's an open
Understand.
debate, right? The last thing we need to do, sort of further ticking off a neighbor who maybe they haven't paid since 1968, but the current board found out about it in December. And so, while it's appropriate to feel disappointed that it wasn't brought to our attention sooner, the fact of the matter, it wasn't, the current board and manager found out about December and have given every indication of being cooperative and willing to share in. So we need to stop saying in public negative things about our good neighbor down in Worcester, because it's starting to upset them. And we're coming across as the bully who's not playing nice with them and accusing them of being bad neighbors. So let's not litigate this in public. We'll keep talking with them. They're very good neighbors. They're very sympathetic to the cause. The current board, who just found out this December, wants to help, sees their role and responsibility, and we're working on getting that taken care of. No commitments, obviously, because nothing's voted on yet. But let's be careful how we talk about our neighbors in this vein, okay?
And I do want to remind everybody that even though we don't get anything from Worcester financially, we are dependent on their call volume to generate enough revenue for us to stay in business. So when you start talking about, they're not contributing anything, it's true it's not coming from the township, but their extra call volume is one of the things that is keeping us going. So you've got to be cognizant of that when you.
Absolutely symbiotic, and we'll get there, but we'll get there. I'm confident we'll get there to some level sometime here, all right?
Barry, I do wanna say I appreciate the P&L that you sent and the balance sheet.
Yeah.
If you see Hayden, tell me. I like it.
All right, so, with that said, I feel like we're kind of landing on something here. I feel like there may be some support to make a motion for a $142,000 loan, as well as the $145,000 release of the budgeted money for the truck, for the ambulance, and for the vaults, and for the locking system. Is there someone willing to make a motion for those releases?
Can we just talk about the terms of this?
Absolutely.
So you said $142,000 loan at 2% for a term of 5 years, amortized over the 5 years, so at the end of 5 years, it will be completely paid off? Correct. Okay, and monthly payments or quarterly payments?
Whatever is easier for you, monthly is easier for us to budget.
What's easier?
That's our finance
What's
director.
easier, finance director?
Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't really matter, but you want to do simple interest.
Correct.
So quarterly, I'm sorry, monthly payments? Okay.
If that's, you tell me. I'm okay either way.
Monthly's easier for us because.
Okay.
And no prepayment penalty?
Correct.
No
Yeah.
payment.
I understand.
Well, the simple interest will kind of
Right.
get you there,
Right.
to no prepayment.
Mhm.
Is there a motion for that loan and release of the $145,000?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0.
Well, thank you very much.
Work out the details with Tracy, let her know when you wanna start the loan, we'll get you the money, and, good luck with that ambulance.
Yeah. waiting for 3 years, better work.
That's why it's about the warranty. Yeah, the warranty, the 3-year warranty, but 2 years is already gone.
So that used to be an issue for us because it took them so long to build it that we would end up with the CAD coming in with 6 months off its warranty. So we used to have to argue every time it would come in saying, no, we just got it. You can't tell us 6 months of our warranty's gone.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, your team, for the great work you do for us.
Barry, the prison's been paying
Oh, gosh.
at a semi-acceptable level?
So again, we are still working on the fact that we have about $22,000 that is subject to the Chapter 11. I have a meeting on Monday, hopefully. WellPath looks like they're backing out at the last minute, but anyway. We have a meeting on Monday to try to work out why all of a sudden they're claiming some of those are not legitimate bills. The new bills, they're paying better, but again, they're supposed to be paying us in 60 days, and we currently have 1 bill out, well, 3 bills out that are over 60 days. And this is the problem we have all the time with them is they seem to miss at least 1 bill a month, and then 12 months goes by and we've got 12 bills that are no longer going to be paid because they say they've been out too long. So it's a frustrating process. We bill within 3 or 4 days from the time of the call. So why there's always some confusion about it not being billed in the timely manner is.
Do you have the bandwidth to do collections? I mean, I'm not offering anything immediately, but I'm just trying to think out loud. Would it be helpful if you had somebody assist you with billing or collections or things past a certain number of days due or something?
So we have the billing company, our billing company actually does billing for us. They follow up 30, 60, 90 days. At the end of 90 days, on a regular bill, it goes to a collections company that we use. The prison's a little bit different because it doesn't matter who does the collections from that point forward. They're not going to pay, until they feel like paying. And again, you have to understand it is not the state, it is not the prison, it is a subcontractor that works for the state. So again, it's frustrating from our standpoint because we can't go to the prison and say, look, you're not paying your bills. It's not them. As far as they know, all the bills are being paid in a timely manner. So, but yeah, we've been down this road for.
Who's been helping from the state? I know that at one point Matt Bradford and Tracy Pancook were.
They're both still working on it.
Are they gonna? Someone from their office can attend that meeting with you?
The one on Monday, Tracy's supposed to be listening.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Keep us posted.
Yep.
You gotta remember, if they're under bankruptcy, the bankruptcy court says how they have to pay, and that they have to pay, so that can be reported.
So, but the game that always gets played is that we never submitted a bill. So the only way we can prove we submitted a bill, when we submit a bill, we get a claim number. If we have a claim number, that means we submitted the bill. It's pretty straightforward. In my mind, if the court wants to prove it, all they have to do is go, when did you issue that claim number? Because that's the way the system works. What they constantly do is they say, you didn't bill. You didn't bill us for a year.
There's gotta be a way when someone's constantly giving you the same excuse, like being a parent.
Right.
Where you say, okay, then how are we gonna track this going forward? So I don't wanna hear this excuse again.
So-
And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bill you and copy the governor. I don't know, there's gotta be, we have to be diligent on our end of
So-
what we're gonna do different.
We have been, and we actually have meetings, and the standard procedure now was that those bills, when that happened, would go to the vice president, and he would handle those issues. And of course, that, we submitted them and nothing happens. I mean, it's the same story with the vice president.
I don't like taking it. I mean, I just feel like it's like, oh, what was us? We don't get it. We gotta do something different and more aggressive. Have that meeting, Tracy's office, keep us posted.
I mean, short of going to the news media, I don't know what else we can do. I mean,
There, when the bankruptcy court happens, is there anybody representing? Like, I know, like, each group that's probably fighting for their money must have some representation. Do you have anybody that you're working with that goes in and supports that?
So our only way of collecting what we have at this point is to file a claim for each one of those bills that is past due, which we've hired an attorney to do that. he's telling us that anytime he's been through any of these, if you get 10 cents on the dollar, you're lucky. That's usually the way it works. So we're looking at what it's going to cost us to file the claims versus what we're going to get back. And to be honest with you, it's probably not even going to be a break even. You know, he's probably going to charge us more than
Yeah, I get it.
what we're going to collect. So.
It's a rough situation. All right, Barry, doing a good job.
Okay.
Let us know how we can help.
All right, thank you.
I'll send my muscle over over to smack around.
Mark?
I know that's coming, by the way. All right, public comment. Anyone have anything for us tonight? That can't be possible. All right. All right, thank you all. Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the February 12th Board of Supervisors meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
The treasurer report. Tracy, you have anything for us for the treasurer report other than to adopt it?
No, actually, you don't have a treasurer's report. We had a little snafu with, the interaction between our online bill payer and our bank. And so as we worked that out, it ran into early this week. And since that's $11 million account, that bank account, I didn't want to include it without knowing what was going on.
What ramification do they have for us here that we don't have that?
No, it was really a miscommunication. We changed systems back in December, and the way rejected payments came through, no one was taking care of it because we weren't really trained on that from our sewer billing system. So now we know we're gonna take care of it. It's not much, but it was enough to cause some concern until we knew what it was.
So just next month we would adopt the
Yes.
the
Yeah.
treasurer report and then up to that point.
Yeah, but there is, I just did want to report on our salt and our snow removal. Well, two things. So I wanted to just mention that we had accounts with Pliget, which is a Pennsylvania local government and investment trust. And we had bond accounts, and we switched them over. They had to be closed, but we switched them over to regular accounts now. So we're still earning the same interest, but just wanted to let you know they're different type accounts because they're nothing we need to do with the SEC. I also got a call from Jamie Schlesinger that said, good thing we defeased the bonds last year because the government is now going after people that did not spend the money that they took.
Good job.
And people bigger than us. So that was all good. The last couple things is I just want to let you know the salt, I know this will be a little bit higher because I just got another bill tonight, but the salt came in about $85,000 and we budgeted 50. Snow removal came in about 91.5 and we budgeted 70. So we're gonna a little bit $50,000 behind.
We'll
But
borrow
again,
from
this wasn't, but this was an unusual. I mean, we haven't had this kind of weather.
Yeah, this is the
in
craziest
years,
thing. It was so cold. I don't want to tell you my electric bill for January. I got it.
Oh, yeah. You weren't the only one I heard complaining.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it. Thank
All
you.
right. Any questions for Tracy before we go to pay some bills here?
And it's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay to wait for a treasurer's report for a whole, that we're supposed to approve?
Yeah, I mean, when I finish it, I can send it to you before, but we still have to go through and accept it in April, wherever we are.
But there's no ramification by skipping a month.
No, no.
We're not missing
I
some
mean,
sort of
there's
real
nothing-
obligation.
Yeah, and it wasn't that there was any money, it was just a procedural thing that we didn't know we needed to do. So I'm not concerned about what happened, we just didn't know.
Okay.
Can't see, so.
Sorry, oh, sorry.
Any other questions, Tracy? All right, let's pay some bills. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of bills February 12th through March 11th? General fund, the amount of $333,498.21. The open space fund of $4,435.01. The sewer fund of $1,545.25. As well as the bills to be paid February 12th through March 11th. Bills to be paid on today, March 13th. General fund of $452,924.68. The open space fund of $5,077.51. The sewer fund of $121,314.12. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Is that everybody?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's all right, that'll be. All right, staff reports. Mr. Woodrow, you were up first.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. A couple of things tonight. We did open bids this week for a couple of projects. First one would be the road project for this summer's work. We had a very active bid participation. We had 7 contractors submit bids to us. Low bidder was Gorkon. Gorkon is a company that we are familiar with. They have done some roads for us in the past and have worked out just fine. For the total of our contract work, I'd like to recommend the board award to Gorkon for a value of $1,098,258.98.
We like Gorkon, they do good work, the local
Yeah,
companies.
they've done some good work, and they were competing against, Morrissey, Haynes and Kimball House, Saxon Company, Innovative Paving, who won last year, so there's some competitive bids there, so.
Good. Any questions, Ms. Woodrow, on that?
No.
All right, do I have a motion to award the 2025 road improvement project to Gorkon, the amount of $1,098,258.98?
I'll make a motion.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. All right, next one.
Next one, we also opened bids for the completion of the repaving of the trails in Palmer Park. Remember, we started that project last year, and after Alice and Public Works crew went through, they decided it's really a good idea to clean that all up and be done with Palmer Park trail paving for the foreseeable future. Again, we had 5 bidders on that project, and I have to report that a local contractor from town won that contract, Jack Strauss and Company, for a value of $186,533. Recall that Jack also won some snow clearing work for us for the northern portion of our road network. So we know Mr. Strauss well, happy that he was able to win that bid, and we recommend award to Strauss for Park.
Mike Strauss too, local company, does good
Yeah.
work. Any questions for Ms. Woodrow with that? All right, there's a motion to bid the 2025 Spec Trail Improvement Project to Strauss Landscaping in the amount of $186,533.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Alice, Alice, I got some feedback from residents when I was walking the park, and it's good feedback, and the trail reminded me of it. When we allow events to occur, runs, bike rides, parades, whatever, some of those organizations spray paint on the actual trail arrows with delineation, stuff like that. Can we make sure that our applications for events in our fair city here do not allow for painted signage, and it has to be some sort of removable stakes in like the lawn or something like that? And now we have brand new paving, they spray paint them, be there for 3 years.
Yeah.
So
We haven't had too many issues with that. The last race that went through, they did do exactly what you said, the signage that was up. But, yeah, I'll make it a point that if anybody does do anything like
And
that,
put around the
we won't
application
allow
that
it,
says, hey,
yeah.
I commit that I won't do this, or I have to pay some.
I agree.
Because it's out there forever, it's like garbage.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. Next on my agenda, recall that we've been talking about the crosswalk between phase 1 and phase 3 of Meadow Glen, Cross Road, for quite some time. Recall the PennDOT permit has been issued. Recall that we've got some grant funding for that project. So we are ready to find a contractor to build that for us. Yeah, finally.
How much, other than crosswalk, how much lineage of roads gonna be? Is there any kind of repair, any, just the crosswalk? Maybe the better question is, can you fill us in what's going on with that road? Improvement, it's in horrible shape, the edging's falling off the state
I got an email today
road.
from a resident asking that question, and I don't have a good answer. Obviously, it's a PennDOT highway. The crossing, deals with, 30 linear feet of that road. It doesn't deal with that complete length, which is in horrible shape. I don't know that the state has any plans to pave or repair Cross Road. During this phase. Did they say that? Yeah, so I'm not checking.
Is there a way we can, so how do we go about checking that?
It's published, the paving work.
But is that something you would do, or something that Alice is?
We can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get a check on
Did
that.
anybody check, I did not check this year for that work.
On their website, they usually have their current projects,
Yes.
but I did not look.
Yeah, so we'll look and get back to you, but
'Cause
hopefully.
I'm concerned about things being timed weird, and all of a sudden they come by and pave things we just got done doing.
Making a darn mess, right?
Yeah.
Great, so we'll
Because of
follow
paved
up on
lines.
the
We don't
paving.
want them to come and pave over the paved
Or waste
lines.
of money, yeah.
I do have a call into somebody from PennDOT to discuss that, and I did hear that we were on the list for 2025. We were
Okay.
supposed to do 2024. But I've not seen it on their website. I've just spoken with the PennDOT people back and forth. But that was one of the things we were trying to coordinate with them.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like, oh, we're paying for the paint to go across for the
Right.
crosswalk and then get it tore up, so.
We have a few topics that we might want to talk to them about. Is it
Yes.
possible for us to get a meeting
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
All right, any questions specific across the road, touching crossing, and you guys all help the state about syncing up?
Right, so, we'll get a contractor, and then we'll make sure the contractor and the PennDOT paving contractor are coordinating between
Perfect.
TPD, Alice, and I, for sure.
All right, do I have a motion for the advertisement of the crossroad Spencer Drive pedestrian crossing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion stand, all in favor?
Aye.
Tim, to present.
Well, real quick, Crossroads supposed to start May 9th and end June 24th.
Hey!
Oh, so we'll be after that.
The room's bugged, they listened, they said, quick, put it
Thank you,
on.
Nick.
Yep.
Good man. That's gonna work out real well, I love it.
Yeah,
All
great.
right, keep going, Mr. Woodrow.
Yeah, you know what, maybe I just jump out of order for a moment, because I think my fourth will take longer than my fifth.
Okay.
Cornerstone Church was before the planning commission last month, talking about an addition to the sanctuary building. Justin is here from the church. This again is a rather de minimis improvement. It's completing what is a U-shaped figure of that building. If we can, Allison, can we zoom in a little bit more on that? So just to the right side of where the label of Cornerstone Church is, you can see kind of a U-shaped cutout of the building. This project will fill in that U-shape with some new building space. Certainly when the project was built, there was provision made for an expansion or for additional parking. So as far as the amount of impervious cover that was approved with the project, this building addition will not exceed that original impervious cover approval. Really, no public improvements are needed. They are again seeking waiver of an obligation to widen and improve both Stump Hall as well as Skipback Pike. You know, obviously there's no curbing out there, there's no sidewalk out there. They are gonna replace some of the missing street trees. And I have talked to their engineer and to Justin about upgrading that detention basin. So the basin, when it was built, was a rate control basin and really didn't do much with water quality. So they are, in their plans, have suggested that they are willing to convert that existing basin from a mowed grass condition with some amended soils and some plant material that would help improve water quality as the runoff from that property heads down to the Skipback Creek. Justin is here if you have any questions, but I guess tonight's the conversation, if you like the project, we'll ask Mr. Pools to prepare a resolution for next meeting and include any thoughts or conditions or.
And I think I read, this is going, you said this is going where parking had been previously.
Well, the parking actually was
requested.
expanded to the right side of the page, was the parking expanded area. But the amount of impervious cover that goes to the basin will not be increased over the original approval.
And no additional parking is being requested.
At this time, no.
What's the addition being used for that would need additional parking?
Let me turn to
Justin Strayhorn with Cornerstone Church. The addition is for classrooms, meeting rooms, bathrooms, storage area. It's more right sizing, I'll say, the accessory uses to the sanctuary. We're just sort of, we've grown as a church, but we're not busting at the seams, but more classroom space, that sort of thing.
And that doesn't change your need for parking because it's used at different times in the sanctuary?
The parking was actually, this was subject to land development in the mid-90s. The church was built in 97. The parking was built, and the original land development plans did have building expansions on it greater than this. The parking was all put in the early 90s, so it's severely over-parked at this point. That parking is basically almost for full build-out.
Perfect.
Nice room, classrooms, kids, who don't drive.
Yeah. There's no school.
This is school.
No, this is for Sunday school, Sunday evening, youth group activities, et cetera.
Other questions?
So this is gonna be a full land development, it's not a waiver of land development?
I think we want to record this plan, Mr. Coles, yes.
Okay. Are there gonna be a financial guarantee for any public improvements?
There will be, I don't know that we need a full type of security, but the abbreviated form that
Okay.
we've used for private improvements,
Okay.
yes.
What about sewer with additional bathrooms?
It is on-lot septic, and that also was sized for full build-out. We are in the process of evaluating that with Penn Trail Environmental to make sure that it is in proper working order. That was one of Mr. Woodruff's comments that we will address, and we will comply with his letter.
Are you currently on North Point Water,
Yes,
or just the sewer?
so right, public water, private sewer.
Do we need a letter from the fire company for any kind of access or sprinkler systems or anything like that, or?
I don't see fire company guys or anything, but, yeah, Paul, it wouldn't hurt, I can touch base with fire guys, make sure that they're okay, yeah, that makes some sense.
And I will let you know also, it's surprising to me, but we are putting in a new fire service line, because there isn't one, which is surprising. So,
You guys should hate to look at it. I'd like to get a letter from him.
Yeah.
Sure.
And are there any waivers, Tim?
Yes. The waivers are the obligation to improve the road frontages.
And I believe you had a waiver request letter
It's in the
that
file.
was provided.
And that's for your engineer?
Correct.
The only entrance exit is right there on Stumphall Road there?
Yes, sir. I convinced the church not to go out to PennDOT's road and obtain an HOP.
Other questions from board?
And Tim, your office has generated a review letter too?
It did indeed. In fact, I did it myself.
Must be good.
I like it.
Any questions from the audience? All right, so we need to authorize Mr. Coles to,
I'll consider myself authorized.
you're authorized. Round up, we'll vote on it next month, and see if any questions pop up. Great, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good luck.
Next on my agenda, this agenda item was kind of spurred by a drive around that Barb and Karen and Alice and I had done a couple of days back, looking at a trail system. You know, the park board, we talked to the park board about trails, Karen talked to the park board about trails, and, you know, we do have a fairly robust basic trail system through town, through our power line trail, through Palmer Park, down to the village, all good things. But the question becomes, what do we want to do with this trail system moving forward? Are there goals we need to set? I just thinking out loud, if we want to improve our trail system, how do we define improve? We want to extend to other municipalities, you know, looking out west, you know, go from maybe Lenny Park into Schwenksville and into the Perkins Trail, the county trail after Schwenksville. Is it something we want to do as far as extending to Worcester? I sent you guys an email. Worcester has been working on a PennDOT and trail project to extend their Zacharias Creek Trail through Evansburg Park, which would link to our power line trail. So if that trail were completed, we could get from the power line through the park, through Worcester, and make that great connection. So improve as far as extending. Improve could also mean further into communities that are not well served today. You know, Iron Bridge Estates connecting to 113 perhaps. You know, 113 down to get to what could be a trail along our stories along the creek. Maybe there's certain areas where we say, oh shoot, that, you know, areas we can't get there. I'm thinking Castle Mill Estates, you know, there's sidewalk within Castle Mill, and we ran sidewalk down Landis to get to Castle Mill Estates. But should we go down Castle, down Mill, get to the park, and where do we extend that trail? Or does improve mean make what we have better? Is there areas that need to be widened? Or is there safety improvements that we should be looking at? Better pedestrian crossings, more flashing lights versus signage. You know, what does that improve? And so there's a lot of things that, that are out there and viable. And how do we get to a conclusion as to what we want to focus our attention on? Certainly with Jamie's comprehensive plan.
Yeah,
that
should there be
might-
like a booth at the comprehensive plan meeting when they just have a bunch of
Yeah.
maps, people draw the line they wanna connect?
Yeah, are there places people are walking in the street today that really deserve, trail? You know, and we don't want to start building trails to places that no one's going to use, you know? We could spend, a bunch of money putting a trail that no one ever is going to walk. And so we don't want to spend money foolishly either. And so tonight, I think we wanted to kind of spur that conversation, get some direction, finding the best way to get the information that we want, so that would guide us in how we want to move forward with any trail improvement going forward.
And included in that conversation, sidewalks and crosswalks.
Yes.
When I think of trail, I think of the Macadam Trail, but.
Walkability.
Good point, walkability, right, pedestrian connections.
Okay.
Yeah, right, we have sidewalks in a lot of areas of town, and there are gaps in
They
this.
stop.
Yeah, Church Road's a great example. So Church Road, there's sidewalk in front of Fort Bevan, but doesn't really go all the way up the township line, and it starts in places all along Church Road. That would be kind of low-hanging fruit if we wanted to build some additional pedestrian connection there. That's a pretty easy project. The right-of-way exists, the topography's pretty level, so it's not like we're trying to acquire right-of-way or dealing with very steep topography.
Right.
One of the things we noticed when we were driving around, looking to go 113 south of Ironbridge Estates, is that there are some homes and some barns that are very close to the road, which makes horizontal issues difficult. There's also some very challenging topography. There is, very steep slopes on edge of road. As you get down toward Creek Road, that intersection with 113 and Creek is horrible. It's guide rail. And so all of those things we discussed and looked at during our walk, and didn't feel that the four of us really had enough information to make recommendations to the larger community about where we should go and what we should do.
So, having said that, we're gonna have workshops for comprehensive plan discussion with the public.
Yeah.
Do you have some ideas as to how, I'd caution us about giving everybody a crayon and drawing lines, because there may be feasibility issues
You
that we do
count
not
how
wanna.
many people do the same line, that's
We
the
wanna
feasibility.
overpromise, not
Yeah.
overpromise.
This isn't you put it down,
Under-promise, over-
this isn't we put it down and we'll build it, this is you put it down and we
Yeah,
overlay everything,
and we'll
go,
think about
the
it.
most common ones are here and here.
Or do we wanna give a little bit of guidance? But would it be better to give a little bit of guidance in terms of having had some thought about it first? So that question goes to a planner.
Yeah, so the workshop coming up in April, we could do a few different things at that station. I was thinking a large blown up map, where they could draw on the map, where they could also place like dot stickers, places where they identify a gap in the network, or just, in their daily life, something that's impactful to them where a connection could be made, and we could tie pedestrian connectivity and trails together on that. Also, Tim talking about, what does improved mean? That's something we could also get feedback on, do people see enhancing the existing network as what should be the priority, or making connections outwards, things like that. We could also highlight the areas that have come up in discussion and that Tim pointed out as, these are some places that we've identified potential connections might be useful. So that could in terms of what you're saying, giving a little bit of guidance and showing the work we've done and the kind of evaluation we've done. Because we can look at the network and say where the sidewalk gaps are, but the purpose of this would be, in everyone's daily life, how are they interacting with the system and what's coming up for them. So I think this is a good opportunity, since that's coming up, to utilize the meeting and get feedback on that. Because that didn't come up as much in the stakeholder group meetings, conversations about that, so I think that would be a good opportunity.
Do we have a map that shows all the trails and sidewalks?
Yes.
It was,
There's
so,
one- you have that
let me
there.
see if it loads here.
Hand these out at the beginning of the meeting.
It's a little
It's a
hard
large
file.
file, so it was kind of hard to stay open. Give it a second.
You know, Jamie, about 100 years ago when I was on the park board, one of the things that we did for inter-community activities, we actually
It's on our
hosted
website, I think.
a park board meeting of the different neighbors to get together, bring their maps, and say, where does it make sense to connect to each other as well? Is that something we can try to plan for the park board to see if they, even though the park board?
Sure, absolutely. That sounds like a good idea. Look at the website.
Sorry.
It is a large file, so
Yeah.
it takes a while to load, especially over the Wi-Fi. But,
And it kind of looks like this, right?
yeah.
But,
It's on our
my
website.
It is on the website.
My concern is you have people coming in for a workshop, just help me walk me through this. And, you know, it takes all of us a while to kind of understand what's on
Yeah.
there, right? And get action in it. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to kind of break it up into some
Yeah, you know,
sections.
as we're just thinking, what I can do is, you know, make one overall map that looks just like that, print that at a large format size.
Big
But
board.
then we can, on a big board, and then we can also break out, you know, break it into 4 quadrants or something and blow that up, you know, to whatever size is maybe more legible, and people can see
And
what's
put some of
happening.
the crossroads and the letters up top so people can kind of get their bearings
Yeah.
as to where they are.
That we can do, sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, because people are usually, you know, like trying to
Oh,
take some
it's
time trying to
not
figure
easy,
it out.
right? So it's really,
Yeah, it's a good suggestion.
Typically, if we can identify Route 113, Route 73,
Sure.
Evansburg Park, once we have those, because it's not, on that plan, it's not really clear as to what 173 is and 113. So if we really highlight
Yeah.
those 2 roads,
Good.
that can really give us, you know, a sense of where we are.
that will help.
All you need to do is put a pin where Wawa is, everyone knows where Wawa is.
Exactly. Here's Wawa.
And then one of the things that does come up repeatedly, I believe, is walking through the village.
Yeah.
Right, and the sidewalks, and that's a very difficult situation. I think some suggestions have come up about, you know, pathways behind the shops and restaurants, because we don't have much to work with on 73. I don't know, I think that's gonna be something that comes up repeatedly, and I'm not sure how we.
Well, that might go back to what we were describing earlier about the traffic calming in the
Yes.
village. If people are really driving at 25 miles an hour, it wouldn't be so uncomfortable to walk on those sidewalks. Triaxles doing 75 miles an hour makes it a little unpleasant. You know, so.
Yeah, but it's also the width of the sidewalks, the condition of those sidewalks, the lifting up here and there,
They go
accessibility.
everywhere that there's a break to go into a driveway, it's down and up. I mean, more than I've ever encountered on a sidewalk.
Yeah, I mean, canes, walkers, wheelchair, can't do.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't fallen out into 73 yet, but.
They probably have, we just haven't heard about it. Actually, it was a kid that, well,
Every
yes,
skip
it
back
happens
days,
a
I
lot.
worry about that part, and every skip back days, I'm holding my breath as I go through town. People jumping on and off the curb and traffic going by.
Yeah, and those sidewalks are 4 foot wide, and they are against the curb.
Yeah.
So, you know, in today's world, we really like to see 5 foot sidewalks at a minimum for kind of low volume sidewalks. The village sidewalks, especially on skip back days or what I described, it's a much higher volume, you have more people trying to pass each direction. And we'd love to have, you know, a grass door strip between curb and the sidewalk.
Be nice.
That would make that walk more comfortable. But we are really limited by the proximity of those old homes and
Yeah.
businesses that are right on the street. So, hopefully want this back. But, you know, maybe there's opportunities where we can widen out the sidewalk, where we have level ground and where we don't have buildings right up on the edge. We could widen, you know, sections to make it more passable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, plenty of options there too, for sure.
Those are big topics I think we need to try and tackle.
Tim, all of our trails go to the park and stop. Why don't they connect with the park trails, Evansburg Park?
Oh, yeah, I mean, so that's a good question, Nick. You mean, there are trails in Evansburg Park. And I think what we were showing on that map is just getting to the park and where you stop. but maybe we can add park trails to the map to show where the park
So,
trails are.
isn't the brown park trails?
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Yeah, oh, that's, yeah, oh, so we have park trails on our map.
But like all of our trails
Yeah.
go to Evansburg and they don't actually connect to the
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tim kind of pointed out some areas where
Where that
that could be
could help.
extended into.
You know, certainly the power line trail, you know, stops just below Evansburg Road there. Right? So yeah, I don't know if we have hard connections to any park trails as far as, actually, I'll
Is
check
there
that.
a reason?
I don't know that there is.
So there would be one of the 5 objectives that we choose to work on.
Right.
I think the goal of this was to get objectives on, and then plan out for the next
Mhm.
however many years to get some of this stuff done.
All right, was there other stuff really discuss on that prior to the comp plan meeting?
So I guess I've got some action items, right, so I wanna get some better plans put together for Jamie that she can take to, our next stakeholders meetings and be better exhibits. Is there something, so is the comp plan the only place we wanna be, or do we wanna talk, you know, you guys wanna look at the plan and drive around as you're, you know, going through life and saying, oh shoot, you know, here's a good spot, or oh, that's a bad spot, or, you know, or just in speaking to constituents, like where are people wanting to walk that they can't walk today? I think we're seeking input to know how to proceed.
So I was gonna ask if there's some sort of preparation that we need to do or could do prior to the workshop.
Yeah,
Better informed and help guide.
shoot, you know, I'm
Thanks.
probably as familiar with all these as anyone. I'm happy to do, you know, Zoom calls with anybody who wants to jump on a call. We can pull up the map and talk. I'm happy to do that as long as we're not wiring any kind of sunshine law stuff, but, you know, be groups of 2 or 3 or, you know, whatever it might be. 2?
Has to be.
Yeah, groups of 2, yeah, I'm happy to do that. It's just, you know, better informed of what we have and what I've seen in the past, for sure.
I'm game.
It is helpful, you know, if you're on Zoom, we can pull up the map and we can pull up Street View. And sometimes looking at the map and Street View really is informative. You know, you can see topography a little bit better, you can see, you know.
And then you can pull up the landowner to see what the,
See who we're
see
talking
what the problem's gonna be. Because all the things I keep thinking of where I want a trail is private property, so that's gonna be a bit of a challenge, but we can certainly, take a look at those, yeah.
And you know, we have wrestled with private property trail issues in the past, and we've, you know, been stifled a couple of times, for sure. But, you know, if it's worth pursuing, it's maybe worth the pain of the conversation, but, yeah, absolutely.
What are you showing us?
I wasn't really, I was gonna,
I'm
you said
amazed
about
at how
the
you
street
do
view,
this.
I just was gonna put it on the street view of a trail, I wasn't
Yeah.
showing a specific one.
She's showing the possibility of what you can do.
It's really great that we can have access like that.
Yeah.
Tim's much quicker, he'll have it up in
But
there.
you're pretty good.
Well, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna send an email to you guys and ask if anybody wants to, you know, take, you know, an hour and pull up some Zoom maps and talk about, you know, what we wanna try to accomplish. I'll get some plans together for Jamie for her public presentations, and, we can keep this conversation fresh.
Yes.
Good? Yep, good.
There's a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tanya.
I just wanted to comment on the sidewalks, because I know it's easy to point a finger on the map and say, you know, this would be a great connection, but these are private residences. And when we moved in here, sidewalks weren't required, and a lot of us do like the open space and don't like the look of the sidewalk or a trail, and don't want, and like the privacy of not having, you know, people, you know, coming through the front yard and into our house, into our space, so just wanna also be aware of that issues too. Like, it's not just, you know, connection for everybody to get to a park, But when we moved in here, we wanted privacy, and it wasn't part of what was happening. So we also need to take that into account.
That was exactly what Mr. Woodrow and I were just lamenting, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Tim, you mentioned Castleville Estates at the beginning of your comments.
As an example,
I
yes.
haven't been very familiar with it. As far as that community, the trail recently came down just abutting to it. But Castle Road, which happens to run through the middle of the Castle Mill community, there's no sidewalks, there's no way for people to pass through without just walking in the road. And it's a dangerous road in that it's a hill. And so at dusk, there's many times where pedestrians are out there walking and not stepping out of the way. It's dangerous. And Paul, to your point about, well, there's private property owners, the property that is adjacent to the road right there, Castle Road, is HOA owned by Castle Mill.
Actually not. There's actually road right of way along Castle Road that's not HOA, it's township owned, so.
Well,
that's low hanging fruit for sure.
There you go. Well, it's what, I know that the HOA mows it, so.
And you do, right? If you mow out to the curb line for your home, but there's actually a 50-foot public right of way there. So we have about 10 foot behind face of curb that is public right of way.
Right.
So again, that's low
That's
hanging
correct.
fruit.
So it's low hanging fruit. No one at Castlemont community is gonna say, hey, we don't want a path there. They would all love it. And all the people at the other end on Mill Road, who constantly walk up and down that from,
Because one of the things I was mentioning to the board was if we got all the way down Castle to Mill, then we could go, look to go down Mill, cross Evansburg, and then you're down into Evansburg Park again.
Right.
And so, again, hundreds of options.
It is a little goofy. I'm looking at the aerial view of it. So our new trail from Landis comes in a Castle and does connect to a sidewalk with Julian.
Yeah.
But then Julian cuts interior.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you do follow that down, you go to a cul-de-sac, you can't get out.
Right.
So
You have to go all the way around Julian to get back out
Yeah.
to Castle.
And cut through some shore.
And- No, there's sidewalk all the way through, that's a loop road up through Castle Mill.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's not, yep, gotcha. And then, you would have, so I guess, it does stop again though. Sidewalk on Castle does stop again, it goes to it and stops.
Yeah.
That's kinda goofy.
And that's some of the stuff we wanna look at, where the sidewalks just.
Perfect example, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that really illustrates what we've been wrestling with.
I know a guy on the HOA over there.
Then maybe we could talk to him, yeah.
Well, if nothing else, get support from your neighbors. One of the best things to do when you're doing private land is when people say, yeah, count us in, we'd love to have it. Along Castle looks to be everyone's backyards.
Yep.
Which
Yep.
sometimes people complain, I don't have a fence there, and I have a shed, or I keep
Although-
my
although-
wheelbarrow ladder back there, now someone's gonna steal it, because they're gonna walk by.
But there's a berm, I don't know there's street view on Castle so much outside.
Yeah,
I don't
there's a
know there's
berm.
street view on Castle. I've looked before, but.
But a good point, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm loving where you're going with this. All right.
Thank you.
So I have marching orders, thank you.
We all got that one? Tim, I don't see anything else on your agenda. Is that
Barring
true?
any questions, that's what I had tonight, yeah.
All
Good
right.
conversation, thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Mr. Cool, solicitor, it's up to you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, you have a resolution in your packets. You'll recall that the applicant and their counsel were present at last month's meeting. The subject is a simple 2-lot subdivision at Hill to Biddle and Mill. And there are no public improvements being proposed at this time, just a paper subdivision. So the applicant will just be taking their plans down to the courthouse parcels. The resolution you have before you grants the simple 2-lot subdivision, subject to satisfying the conditions that are set forth in Mr. Woodrow's most recent review letter, and subject to the contribution in lieu of the otherwise required public improvements that would have been necessary to construct as part of this project. And that contribution is in the amount of
That's the 39,215.
that amount.
Gotcha.
And unless the board has any questions, I would respectfully request a motion to approve the resolution as written. And as is typical, the applicant has executed the resolution prior to this evening's meeting, accepting all the conditions voluntarily, so none of those conditions would be appealable prior to you taking action.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Coles?
Speaking of sidewalks and crosswalks,
Yeah.
that's included in this, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Well, the money is the actual.
The money,
Yeah.
the money for that.
They were the improvements that would have otherwise been required, and that number comes from an estimation that was prepared by the Auditor's Office.
Okay. Other questions from the board, staff? Questions from the audience? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-18, granting preliminary and final subdivision for 4050 Mill Road with the conditions listed in the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I have some time out different.
I think it's meeting.
All right, then we are up to, Jamie, Township Planner, what do you got for us?
So, just basically the, announcement of the workshop being on April 2nd, the first Wednesday in April at 6 o'clock. It will be here. We're still ironing out, the details. The flyer was finalized, so that should be going out within the next couple of days to advertise for that, so we'll make sure that goes through all the same channels that, our other updates went through. So, it's gonna have, stations for all the topic areas, and we'll add one for, we'll kind of draw out the pedestrian elements of the circulation, section into the trails, and maybe we'll just do walkability in general station. I don't know people's availability, but you're all invited to, attend and, man stations if you want to. I'm still figuring out which of my coworkers can attend that meeting and also volunteer. So, yeah, ideally we'll have somebody helping at each station so that people, understand what they're doing. They're gonna be voting on their preferences and support for the goals and objectives that I presented on in January, February, I'm not sure when I did that presentation. So if people have, interest in volunteering and have preferences for different stations, I guess feel free to reach out to me and let me know, and then we'll make sure that we have everything, covered so that people aren't confused at the stations of what to do.
I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm anticipating huge throngs of crowds.
Tell your friends, or she'll be disappointed.
So if this room is a lovely room. If there's, is there any way for us to find out how many people are gonna come? So we could use the room downstairs if we needed to? Is my point.
We could, send out the announcement with like an RSVP. I've found that not everybody will RSVP.
That's okay, we still come anyway, but we have an idea.
We could do that to get a rough idea and then maybe, anticipate some wiggle room on top of it. We could do it that way.
What do y'all think?
How are we sending it out electronically? Even with all the.
Well, it'll
Yeah,
be
the
on
invite, how is that invite?
Facebook, website, electronic.
Is there on counter events?
e-news.
Could we, drop a mail piece for the active adult communities that are less likely to be on social media?
That's not bad, yeah. Or anything.
We could drop flyers off too there for their.
Or if nothing else,
Well,
at
their
least,
HOAs probably would advertise it, right?
if nothing else, at least contact all the HOAs, yeah.
Yeah.
How about a doodle poll, would that work? Like all they have to do is just click yes or no?
I love Doodle.
I've never done a doodle poll for that, but that's a really good question, because people could just.
You
And
just
we
tweak
actually
it.
have a professional account, so that there's no limit for people voting, so.
But I thought one of the pieces of feedback we got from the comp plan is that we have, in older communities, that's not so technology driven,
Yeah.
so. We can certainly test it out, but I don't know how accurate it is. I don't mean us personally.
But I think you'd be surprised.
We'll make sure that the paper versions go out to community members as well, and then maybe in terms of the RSVPs, just anticipate that, there's more people than what we receive as yeses.
We could set up a station or two downstairs too, right? if we needed to.
I've never been downstairs, so.
There's a meeting room.
Missing out.
There's a
We can
meeting
sit on the
room.
hallway too. There's probably two
Yeah,
stations
or
there
that,
pretty
yeah, the
easily.
hallway, yeah,
Yeah.
just thinking.
Yeah, we could-
I
we
hope
could-
I hope we have a good turnout, that would be wonderful.
The weather will be nice, we'll be outside in the lawn.
We'll just
That's the
expand,
aspirational.
yeah, Take over the park.
Debbie, what do you got for us?
So do you anticipate an opening, sort of meeting, or just people are just gonna come, or is there gonna be a culminating sort of, I don't know, announcement from you, or just sort of how things
So,
work? Sometimes, I mean, sometimes that draws people as well, they know it's, 6 o'clock.
yeah, so my current plan is that I would do a brief presentation at the beginning. And sometimes I would delay that until, if the crowds are coming in. And we could have it, circulating isn't the right word. We could have it repeating on the screen, as people come in if they miss the presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, direct people kind of how to walk through and that there's volunteers at each station and kind of give them a little bit of guidance on how to participate at the stations. And I typically don't do kind of like a wrap up just because people tend to trickle out more. But I could prepare a summary of the results and everything, and that could go on the township website, and I could give an update after the meeting.
And you had good turnout for meetings like this you've done in the past?
Other questions for Jamie? What?
I have, it's varied significantly based on.
Well, parking, good point.
But I feel like here
That's a
you
good
get a
point.
good turnout.
Okay,
We
good.
walk a trail and get here.
Some places it seems like you just cannot get people.
Yeah.
Has any advertisement gone out that if we decide to change location, that we could do? Because, you better, better point, the space, we can keep exploding here, but we don't have enough parking.
Parking.
Should we ask the 4-H to use their gym?
We have not put word out yet, so we could, if we wanna go somewhere else, we could go somewhere else.
You guys go with that?
Yeah, that might be wise for parking.
So what do we have to do to? hire
Just
them?
April 2nd, it's a spot for the 4-H club in the gym.
Farm home and you.
Yeah.
Boy, Nick's firing all cylinders, he had two good suggestions, I don't know what's going on.
I'm done for the year.
This operation.
Okay, so we'll reach out and.
Coordinate that, yeah.
Yeah, that way we don't have to worry about.
They're not gonna decline you, because they're good neighbors, they're good partners.
But if it's booked that date, we could also probably reach out to elementary school. Like we use them for the fire
Yep, all right,
and
let's,
EMS situation. So if it's
let's
open,
hope. What
that's
night of the week
great.
is it? It's a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, the second.
We'll be fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else for Jamie before we move on? Township Manager, Alice, it's your turn.
I have nothing to report.
That's not true, I see something right here.
There's nothing on the agenda.
You have 2 items on the agenda.
There's a special event permit for Skippack Lions Diabetes Awareness?
That was the draft one that came out.
Oh, okay, so not doing that one?
Well, I mean, these were 2 special events, and as we discussed before, we were
Oh, we don't
kind of
need to
like,
actually
how
vote.
much do we put out for special events? They aren't in any of our parks or properties, so that's why it was pulled back.
But the second one we have to vote on, because don't we have to vote to, because we're covering the insurance for the Perkins Township? Well, yeah, for the Skippack Fire Company and Fire Police to be there, because we cover their insurance, don't we only have to vote on that, Mr. Cools?
If you've done it historically, I would suggest you do it again.
Yeah, so what I see here is that the Perkins Township asked for Skippack Fire and Fire Police for their Fire Company 5K walk on April 26th at 9 a.m.
So we reached out to the fire police of Skippack, and we have not heard back from them.
Okay.
So if they can't do it, then we can't do it.
All right, why don't you check with this is-
Yeah,
check
so
with
we're just waiting to hear back from them,
okay,
because we
great.
could vote on it, but it might be,
It might not
or
happen.
no, yeah,
It may not happen.
right.
Or it is voted on conditionally.
If he can get on it, I think we can put it on in April and it's
And we're
enough
still
time
okay
to-
time-wise.
All right. All right, nothing else then, huh? I see nothing under old business or new business. So comments from the board. Yeah, I'll go first for a change. Lori Augustine, our tax collector, has been doing this for 25 years, just getting my attention. So if you see Lori, congratulate her. 25 years in any role for any community role, this is pretty impressive, so congratulate her. Next thing I wanted to share is that if you didn't see it on our Facebook page, I want to shout out and say thanks to Matt Bradford, our state rep, and Tracy Pennycook, our state senator, who helped us get $250,000 grant to start doing some engineering design work at the intersection of 73 and 113. That intersection, 3 to 4 corners, 3 to 4 roads are multi-lane, and the traffic flow is pretty good. 113 north, it's only 1 lane. There's a culvert there. There's a whole big project to get going there. And so the first of many, we hope, grants have been approved, and we wanted to thank our state representatives for helping with that. And the last thing I want to say is, hey, next week, we're going to have Wednesday night in here, 7 o'clock at night. We have 2 hearings we're going to go through. One's for Biltmore and one's for Deep Creek. The intent there wasn't to try to hide it from people, so we made it the week after me so we could share it with you. The point being is we're expecting a pretty large crowd, and they can go pretty long because of the content. And we look at Biltmore, you can have a lot of people attending. So please feel free to come next week. But that means probably pretty long. We don't want to have a 4-hour meeting tonight and have the place packed. So hopefully we'll see you next week if you're so interested in hearing about those proposed plans. All right, with that, I'll go right to left. Karen.
Well, I'll just say I had a great time calling numbers at bingo last month. DB is our event coordinator, DB D'Angelo. She does a lovely job, so shout out to her. She comes up with refreshments and she comes up with prizes. There are about a dozen people there. It was really fun. I wanted to just say that spring is here. Our restaurants in town will soon be offering outdoor entertainment. We need to remind our proprietors about being a good neighbor. And you're probably way ahead of me on this and thinking about sending out some messaging. We want to make sure we're all able to enjoy the good times in our village while being respectful of our residents, especially those who live in close proximity to the venues. So I know that's coming back upon us soon. So.
Hey Alice, you know, we used to do a thing when I was park board, that we do a kickoff every spring with all the Little League and the Montel and everyone together and remind everyone the rules for the season and being good neighbors. So maybe it'd be a good idea to set up a meeting with the managers or each of the restaurants downtown that have outdoor music, just we get on the same page here so we don't have challenges like last year. So I like
Perfect.
that. All right. Anything else from you?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Marion, your turn.
Nothing.
Nick?
Speaking of the park, and Dee's great ideas, this weekend is the scavenger hunt, the St. Patrick's Day scavenger hunt. So throughout Palmer Park, if you find a leprechaun, take a picture and send it to the Facebook page. I think there's movie tickets for a raffle on that.
It goes from Friday night through Sunday. As long as people take a picture of the leprechaun and not take the leprechaun.
And Easter egg hunt's coming up. Did we have a date for that yet?
April
19th, I think.
That's not out on the Facebook yet.
I don't know if she posted it yet, but I'm sure she will. I think it was in the I think it's been in the e-news the last 2 times.
That's it, I think.
Barbara?
Nothing.
All right, with that, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.